is influencing you? Amen. 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 Glory to Jesus. Honor to Mary and Joseph. Could you just tell the person beside you good morning? God bless you. Tell the person, I am happy to see you this morning. And tell the person, I prayed over the seat you're sitting on. Hey, if you didn't do it, don't say it. If you didn't do it, don't say it. How can you lie in the house of the Lord? And you're doing it with so much joy. All right, I want to speak to us this morning from the topic, who is influencing you? Who is influencing you? And the message comes primarily from the second reading taken from the letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 7 to 12. And scripture says, brethren, you know how you ought to imitate us. In essence, brethren, you know how you ought to allow us influence you. We were not idle when we were with you. We did not eat anyone's bread without paying. Some of you here, you buy things on credit and you refuse to pay. If you're very honest to yourself, you're owing someone so much money that woman down your street who sells the kiosks, madam, just give me two cubes of sugar, one sachet of milk, I'm going to pay. And then when you do that on Monday, you do that on Tuesday, you do that on Wednesday, you choose to take another turn. When she's coming this way, some of you would do that. You take this other way. That's what Paul is saying to us today. And Paul says, when we were with you, we didn't eat your bread without paying for it. If you're owing anybody today, after Mass, go and pay up. You might not have the entire money to pay, but make a commitment. I'm owing you 10,000. Just pick up your phone and restore your dignity. If you're owing me and you call me and say, I'm sorry, I haven't been able to meet up our deal, but I am coming with 1,000, I would always respect you because you're a man of honor. You are a woman of honor. So when you get back home today, just call the person you're owing, even if it is 500 naira. Just reach out to the person and say, I am sorry, I couldn't meet up. I had a lot of challenges. This is this, that is that. But could you just give me some time? Maybe by next week, I'll pay. If I'm owing you 500 naira, even if it is 200 naira, pay that person. The person will respect you. This is what Paul is teaching us about. So Paul said, when we were with you, we didn't eat anything without paying, but we toiled and labored and worked night and day, that we might not be a burden to you. Most of us, we are burdens to other people. I don't know how far this is true, but I have come to understand from experiences of people, from stories, that a lot of, once you go into a relationship with someone, you begin to feel like the person is your, how do they call it? My helper, oh, my helper, my helper, oh, my helper. Some of you singing, you're guilty. You go into a relationship with a young man, a young boy, or you go into a relationship with a young girl because of your perception or because of what you think he or she is doing. You bring all your burden, your father's burden, your mother's burden, in fact, your entire generation heap on the young man. And tomorrow, when he doesn't marry you, you begin to say some witch from the village is stopping you. You're the one stopping yourself. He also has his own problems. And I am completely against pastors, I'm against priests, bishops, reverends who begin to bring their personal burdens to the congregation. It's not right. No doubt that the Bible says the laborer deserves his wages. That is true. But we all have burdens. Everyone in this church, you're dealing with something. Some of you haven't paid your school fee. Some of you are struggling to pay the fees of your children. Some of you are struggling to pay your house rent. And then the almighty man of God, your pastor, your priest, your bishop, begins to put his own burden on you. That is completely insensitive. And this is what Paul speaks to us about today. Now, Paul says, when we were with you, I wasn't a burden to anybody. And I have always prayed not to be a burden to anybody, not even my family members. So let us pray today also, asking God to help us not to be a burden to anybody. And then Paul goes on to say, for when we were with you, we gave you a commandment not to let anyone have any work if he refuses to do any work. Now we've heard that there's some of you who are just idling away and not doing what you're supposed to do. And he says, we call upon such persons in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ to go about doing what is right. But Paul emphasizes that we need to imitate him. He needs to be an influence in our lives. Now, the story surrounding the letter of St. Paul to the Thessalonians, the second letter precisely, it all began with a rumor. Now, many of us are rumor mongers. They talk say, it be like say, he no talk say. Many of us are very guilty of that. You hear something, you do not even confirm or even verify the veracity of that information, and you begin to send text messages. You begin to call people. Have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? This was the problem of the church in Thessalonica. It began with a rumor. Now, the rumor was that the world was coming to an end. That was the rumor. And a rumor begins with one person. He tells you, and you, because you cannot keep quiet, you tell the next person. And both of you can't keep quiet, you tell people. It begins to grow exponentially. That is how a rumor is. And in less than 10 minutes, everybody in church is getting the wrong information. I'm saying this because before you say something, always try to verify. Don't just say what you want to say. Don't just say anything that comes to your mind. Be a man or a woman of honor. Always verify whatever it is you want to say. So the rumors at that time was that the world was coming to an end. And because of this, a lot of the Thessalonians stopped walking and began wandering and began idling away. After all, the world is coming to an end, so I do not need to walk. The world is coming to an end. I do not need to do anything. The world is coming to an end. I just need to sleep and fold my arms and not do anything. So Paul, in his response, was writing to correct what was wrong. And this is where we have the second reading when Paul speaks to us. So Paul addresses the Thessalonians and he tells them about the beauty of human labor. He tells them about the beauty of work. There are a lot of people, public and civil servants, who, this thing that say, thank God it's Friday. Once it's Friday, they get so happy, they get so excited, and some of them from their work, they run to where the guys are meeting, or they run to where the girls are gathering, and they begin to eat and drink and enjoy, drink and get drunk, and some persons go back home on Saturday morning. But once it's Sunday evening, oh, Monday again. It happens to everybody. Most people do that. I am also guilty sometimes anyway. Especially when I'm on holiday and I know I have to come back. Oh, I wish I had to extend the holiday for one more day or one more week. I mean, this is exactly what happens, and we open ourselves up to being very lazy. And many of us are very lazy. Many of us are very lazy. Beginning from doctors. I've seen very lazy doctors. You don't update yourself. In fact, there was a day I went to visit, I went to the hospital. I met this particular doctor and we got into talking, and we're talking about diabetes. And to my greatest shock and embarrassment, what he was saying is something nobody talks about. And much more than ever, I happen to have read a lot about diabetes, and we got into arguing, and he said, I'm a doctor. And I said, I am also a doctor because I have read about this. And we began to argue. I'm just saying this so we need to come out of that shell. You need to update yourself. You need to grow. Lecturers, teachers, many of us are extremely lazy. The worst of them are students. The worst of them are students. A lot of our students are extremely lazy. And you know what they say about Nigerians? That if you want to hide something from a Nigerian, put it in a book. Because they will not read. Come on, let's do better than that. We are supposed to be far better than that. So now Paul addresses the Thessalonians, and Paul tells them about the beauty of work. And one of the things Paul would emphasize, which is not written in the scripture, is reminding us that the God we serve is a God who works. I mean, when God was creating the world, God was busy working. God said, let this be. That was God working. And then when it became time to make man, God spoke man. God did not speak man into being. God worked man into being. Let us make man in our own image. So you and I are a product of a God who works. You and I are a product of work. So Paul emphasized and was challenging the Thessalonians about the beauty of work. And Paul said, I am proud to be independent. I am proud not to be a burden to any of you. And this is what we should make efforts to do. The fact that he is your husband doesn't mean you should be a burden to him. The fact that she is your wife doesn't mean you should be a burden to him. We should come out of that burden mentality. So the rumor mongers were claiming that the world was coming to an end, and many people had to abandon their jobs. You remember when they said the year 2000 was the year the world was coming to an end? You remember what people did? A lot of people had to sell what they had. Yes, people did that. People had to stock their homes with everything they felt they would need. That's exactly what happened to the Thessalonians. But the difference was they had to stop working, sold their businesses, sold everything they had, and said, let me wait for the world to come to an end. So the question is, who is influencing you? Everyone in this church is being influenced by something. You're influenced by someone. But the question is, who is this person? Who is a bad influence in your life? Who is a bad influence in your home? Who is a bad influence in your marriage? Who is a bad influence on your job? Who is a bad influence in your studies? Who is making you abandon a beneficial thing you were doing? You know, there's certain friends who you want to do something good, they say, oh, don't worry, leave that person. She has been begging. We know her. That one, she's a professional beggar. You want to do something good, something noble, something kind. Some other person is asking you not to do it because you're not going to do the right thing. Who is that person influencing you? Who is taking your focus off church? Many of us do not come to church often because of the kind of friends we have. There are no two ways about it. Most of us are Sunday people. But any other program that takes place within the week, we run away from it. So who is influencing you not to come to church? Who is influencing you to take your focus off your husband or off your wife? Who is influencing you to take the focus off your studies? And this is what Paul said. Paul said his lifestyle should influence the people. And I hope too that some way, somehow, my lifestyle, for the Bekomson, has been able to be a positive, a very minute positive influence on your life. By the day, I try to work on myself every day. I try to be conscious of the things I say, the places I go, the kind of decisions I make, because I know that there might be one or two persons who look up to me. We all should have that mentality. As a husband, as a wife, as a daughter, as a teacher, as a medical doctor, as a nurse, you should understand that there are certain people who are just looking up to you because your life may be the only mirror another man is seeing. We're either influenced by Christ or we're influenced by the world. And these days it becomes all the more bad because of the advent of social media. And if you're not killing it on social media, then you failed. There are a lot of us who wake in the morning, the first thing we do, we check our Instagram, we check our Twitter, we check our Facebook. So we begin to live our lives based on what social media is pushing us to do. Our life is focused on the web. We now focus so much on social media to the detriment of our day-to-day life. And one of the greatest vocabulary which the social media has brought on the scene is the word influencer. And many people are struggling to be influencers. A lot of us are struggling to be influencers. And being a social media influencer is popular. It's the new cool. It's the new tight. If you're not a social media influencer, then nobody seems to recognize you. It's so bad that people tend to evaluate your preeminence, your importance based on the number of followers you have on Instagram. People tend to evaluate how important you are based on the comments you have on Instagram or on Twitter or on Facebook. And I'm very happy with the new Instagram law, which says that, it's already begun in the United States, that you are the only one who sees the comments and then the number of likes. Because a lot of persons have killed themselves Why would you kill yourself for the comment of strangers? On my Instagram page, I have over 10,500 followers, and I'm not sure I know up to 100 of them. So when I make a post and then I see maybe 50 comments, why do I get angry? I do not even know you. I don't know if you're even fake. You know what people do on social media? They live fake lives on social media, and you want to come and go and kill yourself. Now, the word influencer is very interesting to me, because what are we actually influencing people to do? Are we influencing them to do the right or the wrong? Are we influencing people to reach a beauty that is not attainable naturally? Or are we influencing people to have a lust for cars, for exotic cities, expensive drinks, clothes, shoes, and other material objects that would never bring anybody happiness? As a Christian husband, as a Christian wife, what are you influencing people to do? You come to church every day, you bring your offering, you receive the Holy Eucharist, and then on Monday in your office, you're influencing people to do wrong. And you call yourself a Christian. You call yourself a Catholic. What are you influencing people to do? As a Catholic doctor, as a Catholic nurse, as a Catholic lecturer, as a Catholic student, as a Catholic businessman, what are you influencing people to do? And I want to say this to everyone. You have to be you. Do not let anybody push you into being or into doing what you're not supposed to do. You have to be you. Stop trying to be the other person, because imitation is limitation. When you try to imitate me, you're only limiting yourself. You're shutting out the potentials of what God has given to you. I need you to remember that each and every one of us were beautifully, fearlessly, and wonderfully made. It's time to stop chasing other people and start chasing our dreams. The truth about it, my dear friends, is no matter how hard you're trying to imitate people, you only remain a copy. You remain a fake or a low budget. You know, sometimes when you compare to people, I see this a lot on social media, and someone says, this is a low budget of this other person. So if you're trying to copy someone, you're just a low budget. So you need to learn to be you. Learn to be yourself and learn to discover your purpose in life. Yes, you want to be Davido. A lot of people, I hear a lot of young guys that want to be like Davido because he's making Davido. I love Davido. He's a good artist. He's a good singer. He's a good musician. He's an amazing young man. He's also hardworking. But the sad news is Davido has already been taken. You can only be you. You can't be another Davido, because the world wouldn't have a space for a second Davido. Trust me, there won't be a space for you. But the world will have a space for another Emmanuel Bekomson. The world will have a space for another Elizabeth. The world will have a space for another Antonia. The world will have a space for another Patrick. But the world will not have a space for another Davido, because Davido is taken. The space who Davido is already gone and taken. So you need to be you. Find your flame, find your passion, and run with it. I hear a lot of young girls who would say, I want to be a Toke Makinwa. She's a beautiful young lady. I like her. I mean, she's a fantastic writer. She's a best-selling author. She's an actor. She's a media personality. But the sad news is she too has been taken. You cannot be a second Toke. You have to be a first you. I don't want to be second to another person. I can only be first to Emmanuel Bekomson, or second to my brother who is Robert. So you have to recognize that you have to be first you. You have to be you, and let nobody push you into being who you're not supposed to be. Amen. It's so sad. I heard this recently about a lot of girls who go to boutiques and rent clothes. Come on, you know these things. Don't smile. They go to boutiques and they rent clothes, they rent hotel rooms to do their birthdays. Why don't you do your birthday in your house, in your father's house? Let us see who you are. Let us see the parents you have. Let us see the family you come from. Some of you who are renting hotels, your parents are staying in a thatch house. When it rains, we pity them. This is really very shameful. So girls rent clothes in boutiques and pay for. This happens a lot in Lagos and Abuja. They rent private jets. They rent in hours. I rent this jet for 30 minutes, and then they rent clothes from a boutique, and then they have a photo shoot, like 30 different outfits. Come on, this is what they do. The clothes are borrowed. The private jets, you're paying maybe 100,000 for 30 minutes just to sit there, and then you pose, you cross your leg, you're carrying a bottle of champagne, and then the beautiful thing, they write, living my best life. Ha! And some of you here are struggling to kill yourself. Some of you are opening up yourself for runs just to be living your best life, but those clothes are borrowed. For goodness sake, who is influencing you? Every week, the posts on my way to Dubai, here I come. But you and I know that they're just somewhere in Lagos. Oh, come on, this is what is happening. So who is influencing you and what is influencing you? What about the guys? I'm very active on Instagram, so I know what I'm speaking about. A lot of you must have heard about this strong social media influencer, Momfa. If you go to this guy's page and you're not strong, you might be forced to want to go into blood money because of what he posts on his page. Expensive cars, exotic places, how he flies in a helicopter, how he's in a private jet, he flies business class on Emirates. Oh my God, what would you not see? The latest of Bentley, the latest of G-Wagon Brabus, the latest of Ferrari. He has all of these things. But you know what happened to him 3 weeks ago? He was arrested by EFCC for internet fraud. And some of you, the young guys, you're already making him your model. You want to be another Momfa. Who really is influencing you? A lot of men and women practice what is called coprohagia. I don't know if anybody knows what that means, coprohagia. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you. It is the eating of shit. Shit. You know shit? S-H-I-T. Shit. You know people eat shit. You don't know? Okay, I just told you. If you're following the trend of things going on in the world, you remember that about 2 months ago there was a very disgusting photo, a video that was circulated on the internet about a Nigerian girl who was eating shit. They showed everything. It was so disgusting. A man was shitting in her mouth and she was eating it. Oh my! You didn't know about this. And you know the latest thing, in Dubai, you could eat for 10 million naira. So if you want to get 10 million naira today, just go to Dubai, go and eat shit. And then you'll pay 10 million naira. Oh God, what people do for money. A lot of people live fake life. And I kept asking myself, this young girl who eats this excreta, what did she do it for? Is it to pay the father's bill in the hospital? And I don't know. But I believe, and I may be wrong, but it may most likely be she wants to be like this other person. She wants to use the expensive things. She wants to use expensive human hair. I heard recently, in fact last week, I read it on the internet about a human hair that goes for 700,000. You're carrying a hair of 700,000 and yet you have nothing in your skull. Who is influencing you? That's a question we should ask ourselves. I'd say 4 things before I round up. Now, this is what happens if Christ is influencing you. Number 1, when Christ influences you, we become more like Christ. When Christ influences you, we become more like Christ and conform to his image. When Christ influences you, you become more like Christ. Number 2, when Christ influences you, we do greater works. We imitate him to do greater works. When Christ influences you, we imitate him to do greater works. Can I see the third one, please? When Christ influences you, we become role model for others. Number 4. Okay, we have quite a number of lessons. People lie a lot. I never believe everything you hear and see, especially on social media. Don't go and kill yourself for nothing. The next one, please. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Before you spread any news, always verify so you do not spread rumors, because many of us are guilty of that. The next one, please. Learn to walk rather than beg. Learn to walk rather than beg. Number 4, be proud of the little efforts you make, no matter how tiny it is. You know what they say about little drops of water? It says little drops of water make an ocean. So do not go about comparing yourself with the other person. Just keep doing the little things you can do. Someday it will yield. The next one. Walk. Do it now. Sometimes later becomes never. Can we read that together, everybody? And the last one. Is that the last one? Okay, fine. Can we read this together? Yeah, the proud and evildoers will sum the fall. And that's what the first reading tells us. The proud and evildoers will sum the fall. So if you're a proud man, or you're a person who takes joy in doing evil, your days are numbered.